Why do you always describe God with singular personal pronouns, Albi, and why you're not using the plural ones? Can you explain that?
Well, I can use plural ones or I can use singular, just like the Bible does.
So can you refer to God as my gods? So can you refer to God as my gods in the plural sense? Can you say my gods help me? Can you say my gods help me?
Yeah, absolutely I can. Yeah, absolutely I can. In the sense of that the gods of Israel, the gods of Israel, the gods of Israel, the gods of Israel, the gods of Israel are one.
No.
The gods of Israel, gods of Israel are one. But you're reading your interpretation into it as though it's many gods. However, Scripture is very clear. God is one in one way, more than one another way. So Scripture can easily say, right, the gods of Israel are one.
Albi, don't you see what you're saying? It sounds absolutely pagan. Don't you realize that?
No, I just realized that I'm reading Scripture.
Okay, so you don't realize the pagan you don't realize the pagan vibes that people are getting in the chat right now when you say my gods help me. You're perfectly comfortable with that.
Yeah, well, I don't speak that way. I don't say that way. But you said, is it acceptable to say that? Well, if you're gonna actually have an understanding of Scripture and not defame what Scripture actually says and be honest with what Scripture says, then there would be no problem in reading it in that way, because that's how the reading is during our cross-examination.
Exodus, what does Exodus 20 verse 3 stipulates?
Yeah, it says, you shall have no other gods before my faces.
With 3 faces, but sharing one body.
So you just said you have no problem. You said you have no problem calling my gods help. And God just told you, you will have no other gods before him.
Sharing one body. This painting became quite controversial as different artists around the world created their own versions.
Right? But if you look at grammar throughout ancient Near Eastern time, it was right for the Jew to say, the gods of Israel are one, because the word monotheistic didn't come into existence until about the 7th century or so. So the Jews would understand that the gods of Israel, that the gods of Israel, that the gods of Israel, that the gods of Israel,
that the gods of Israel,
that the gods of Israel, that the gods of Israel, that the gods of Israel were one, right? One in nature, one in essence, undivided, right? But they would use plural form. That's the point.
You were right. The time has passed. There is no room for gods. Forgive me, my old friends. Take me.
Again, because
the
you're in a
gods of Israel.
Again, because you're in a
gods of Israel.
Yes. So maybe you haven't read this book. So wipe the dust off the book. Buddy.
Book's on my bookshelf.
Here.
I got it, but
let's wipe the dust off.
Gods of Israel.
Book.
Well, Marlon.
Yikes.
Marlon,
Yeah.
no,
So
just
that's
want to
what
get
I'm
off
quoting
topic
out.
and not present my
gods of Israel.
Yeah. Firstly, the word God there is a plural. It's elohim, and it's not singular. It's plural. So, but also, I mean, so the monarchians, oneness, Pentecostals, they always mention the singular nouns, but they seem to neglect, what about all the plural ones? Like in Ecclesiastes 12, where numerous translations say our makers, and also in Isaiah where it says our husbands. And those are just a few examples of where the plurals are used as well. But Elohim is plural, and there are some Jews who translated gods. Hear, O Israel, the Lord, our gods is one Lord.
That the gods of Israel, that the gods of Israel, that the gods of Israel,
that the gods of Israel,
that the gods of Israel.
And there are some Jews who translated gods. Hear, O Israel, the Lord, our gods is one Lord. So that is a real translation from the Jews. So it's something to think about. Let's remember, there's plurals and singulars go together with our God. That's Trinitarian theology.
Thank you very much. Praise. And Caleb, it was for you. Yeah, you get the last word. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so it's Malachi 2:10. We read, have we not all one Father? One Father, have not one God created us? Notice how it approximates with one God, Echad, Elohim, one Father, Ab. So clearly, we don't have multiple fathers. Are we going to interpret Malachi 2:10 in conjunction with Deuteronomy 6:4 as a collective Father? No, obviously he's talking about it in the numerical sense. One Father, hence one God created us. Perfectly aligns with Deuteronomy 6:4. And by the way, that claim of Tom about the Elohim being plural, it's an intensive plural, meaning that it's not equated how we understand it in our English language. The richness. It's talking about multiple qualities of God. And that's just how we understand it in context. When the word Elohim is used in relation to the one God, not the pagan gods, not the angels. When it's talking about God in context with the word Elohim, it's talking about the greatness of God. This is where you find the Most High God. The Hebrew language is very poetic and rich. I'll end with that.